Good evening, everybody. I actually was able to make it on time. I'm going to hopefully over the next few weeks. I'm trying a slightly different schedule for my like day-to-day stuff. And I'm hoping what this will mean is that I'm able to be home for a be home early enough to be able to start the stream. It means that I have to give up a little bit more on my non-stream days, but I have been a little troubled by I don't know. It's a not a great sort of self-reinforcing cycle where I'll stay late at work, which will mean that um I go late for stream, and to offset the time, I don't want to work more than I'm allotted, so I don't mind sort of shifting the work time, but that just means that there's this slowly moving window later and later, and that just means that the streams start later as well. So we'll see if this works. I know trying to start on time has always been a bit of a tricky one, but we are here today, and we're going to be doing something not exactly new, but something different from what we've been playing lately. So just to orient everyone in case you weren't watching during Warhammer 40k Rogue Trader, I started Warhammer 40k Rogue Trader. I quite like the game, but I noticed in general there seemed to be a little less appetite for it. At the very least, there was less sort of foot traffic, I guess, for lack of a better term. And I'm not opposed to doing it on stream a bit more, but I noticed there was nobody really saying, I'd really like it if you keep playing Rogue Trader. And that suggests to me that maybe it's a bit better as like a series of YouTube VODs rather than something that I'm going to do, day in, day out on the stream, especially because it's such a long game. It potentially, draws people away. Like, I don't want people to think that I'm giving up like strategy games, for instance. So, but I've been very encouraged, and in fact, I think a few of you on YouTube may hear this. I was really delighted when people asked, are you going to play more ZEPHON? Because I like this game a lot. I also like the fact that it seems that some people who weren't aware of this have become aware of the game as a result of the stream. So that is one of the things that I've always really liked about streaming. And if I get a chance to, to talk up a game I think is interesting, I'm going to take the opportunity. So I'm just going to take a quick minute here. Right. I think it was on a discount the last time I played it, but no discount currently. But yeah, so for those of you not familiar with the game, this is by Proxy Studios. There are two games that they made before, which you may be familiar with. The oldest is Pandora First Contact, which I only ever became aware of after playing their second game, Warhammer 40k Gladius Relics of War. It's, as far as I can tell, the first time that a 4X style game there's been a 4X style Warhammer 40k game. So it's an interesting one. I definitely get the impression after playing Gladius that Proxy is very set on kind of combat-oriented 4Xs. And I think I've talked about this before, but it does actually seem to be a bit of a, if not a trend, at least a direction that a few interesting 4Xs have gone. So there's Gladius. Soren Johnson returned to the 4X genre with Old World, and I will definitely say not only is Old World quite combat-oriented, but I feel completely outclassed by the AI. Like, that is one of the stumbling blocks for me, is that the AI is just very, very effective at combat to a point where I feel I don't even have a hope of being able to figure that out. So, no, that's, I think if I put more time in Old World, I would be able to overcome that. But just it's just a completely heartless, AI. So it's you need a strong stomach to go up against it. And ZEPHON, I'm very, very happy with the shifts that they've put into it. So I've said this a few times, but I just wanted to highlight that there are a few things that I think are really working in ZEPHON's favor here. Number one, they decided to do a completely original IP. I hate using IP in this context, but they've done... I can't remember exactly what the YouTube comment was, but somebody said something along the lines of like, ZEPHON is the game that decides that one apocalypse isn't enough. You know, you need to have 3, which is a very accurate description of it. So in addition to creating an original setting for, you know, again, I mean, no disrespect at all to the story. In fact, I will be highlighting that in a minute, but you know, most people don't sit down and play 4X games to say, ooh, I wonder what happens next, right? You know, I like Alpha Centauri, I like Sid Meier's Beyond Earth. I think both of them do tell a story that I'm engaged with. But, you know, the fact of the matter is that when you play these games, you are very often focused on, you know, implementing your long-term vision. And I would actually even go so far as to say that I am not necessarily the target audience for this sort of thing. What I mean by that is I had a friend who quite literally would stop playing their Civilization game as soon as they found another civilization. For them, it was all about building. I mean, realistically, it's SimCity by other means. Now, I'm not that far on it, but I definitely don't focus heavily on the military side of things. But of course, Warhammer 40k, you know, in the grim darkness of the future, there's only building a civilization to stand the test of time, right? No, there's only war. There isn't even an option for diplomacy in Gladius. So, what ZEPHON does, in my opinion, is it builds on the really strong foundations of Gladius, but it does so with its own setting, which I find quite interesting. On top of that, it doesn't just, like, you'll see the opening cinematic, but it doesn't give you, you know, in a world where ... It expects you to read the descriptions of things and find out the story as you play, which reminds me a little bit of some of the things I like about Cultist Simulator and Book of Hours. And I'll confess, I don't think I've ever really seen a strategy game tell its story that way. And it has its costs, right? Like, there are some things about the setting that I didn't quite realize until either seeing discussion about the game or going through a few times. And I think one thing I would sort of like to see is that you do get a little bit more of what's going on each time you win and you have an interaction with sort of this endgame entity. But I don't know, like, there isn't a library of those past interactions. So it'd be nice if I could just sort of cross-reference some of them and get a bit of an idea of what's going on. But, you know, these are very minor points. I haven't really seen this kind of storytelling in a 4X before, and I'm for it. I actually think it's really interesting. And then on top of that, you know, I like Gladius. I think it works as it is. But I am actually happy that they reintroduced diplomacy. I do think being able to, you know, interact with other factions and try and manage things is, I personally find that worthwhile in these games. And I know it's actually been quite difficult. From what I understand, it's one that a lot of 4X games have struggled to do in a satisfying way. So I can see why there's a lot of sense for developers to set that aside. But overall, this is a game that I think definitely punches above its weight. It looks, I mean, they're putting out more DLC. It looks like it's got a dedicated fan base, so I'm happy that it seems to have met with some success. But I think it would be fair in my opinion, it would be fair to say that this is one that I feel deserves more attention than it's got. I'm the only one out of the people I know who plays it. Actually, let me just take a quick look at my friends list. There's 4 of you that've got it on your wish list. But I don't know. I would expect that number to be bigger. So In any case, so just overall, I feel quite warmly towards this game. I'm really interested in the fact that people would like to see more. I will just be upfront. I mean, obviously, I'm doing a live broadcast, and I'm 10 minutes of introductory material, which I realize is just a complete disaster as far as VOD content is concerned. But the only caution I would give, of course, is that I like ZEPHON. I'm not by any means an expert on it. I do eventually want to try and move up a little bit in terms of the difficulties and such. But I have a lot to learn on this, and I know I'm going to be making mistakes. I know fans of games very often want to see it played at a high level, and I don't really feel that I'm there, and I suspect it will take me a long time before I get there. But for those of you who just want to hang out and see some more ZEPHON, or maybe try and make a decision for yourself if this is the game for you, I am going to be doing this more often. And then with that in mind, I think the people who are looking forward to ZEPHON, I do need to disappoint a little bit. The general schedule that I've kind of worked out for this is that I used to do strategy games on Mondays. So I think I'm going to make sure that this is a nice sort of Monday fixture. And one of the reasons I've chosen Monday is that it is not going to get it, I'm not going to have to cancel a stream to go to local game dev meetup or anything like that on the Wednesdays. So that works for me. But on the Wednesday and Friday, I kind of want to finish Uncle Chop's Rocket Shop. So what it may mean is that ZEPHON is once a week for a few weeks here. And I know that's going to mean that probably there's a bit less than people would necessarily like to see. But I'm happy to be playing this more regularly, and depending where we're at with the playthroughs, if there's still interest in it, we can look at doing some more. So let's get started. So what I did, so I've done a few rounds as the Fallen Soldier, which is the one that you get to do in the introductory mission, and I haven't played that many factions, but I will say I actually think this is quite a good one to learn with, particularly because of the Undying ability. So that Undying really lets you make some mistakes, and it's not strong enough that you don't face consequences, but it gives you just a nice little safety net so that if you do something silly, you're probably able to back out of it. So one of the things I like to do, in fact, there was a subreddit, there's a ZEPHON subreddit, and the question was basically like, is it me, or is this game really hard for a new player? Now, everybody's going to come to these games, from a different background. So I don't want this to sound judgmental or like some kind of bragging. It may be just my familiarity or my fondness for 4X games. I didn't find this game uniquely challenging when I started playing. Now, in fairness, I did the introduction, which is on easy. And in the medium difficulty, I think I reloaded quite a bit. But I think for the most part, I had a reasonably good grip on it. And the one exception to that was the end game, which completely caught me by surprise. And I realized the bad habits that I had developed over playing in previous ones. So that has definitely altered sort of the long view that I take in the game, although I'd maybe argue that I think the last playthrough sort of revealed to me that I still fall into the bad habits. So I think they were commenting on how the events created problems that they couldn't solve, which I thought was really interesting because I personally haven't run into that, although maybe there are different events for different factions which create problems. So the reason why I'm mentioning that is that one of the bits of advice that I offered in the thread, and this is something that served me through a number of strategy games, is I really like the idea of saving at key moments and then using those opportunity, like if you get clobbered by the AI, take the opportunity to reload and ask, what would I have done differently? Because in some cases, even learning where the mistake happened can be valuable, right? So for me, one of the first times that I got stuck into a really hard situation was the end game event. And that one, I mean, maybe it's not turn one, but that was the seeds of that particular loss were sown very, very early in the game. It was essentially a lack of respect for the tech tree. It was not focusing on building an economy that would sustain the the kind of production that I would fight the AI with. I was way too reliant on infantry. In fact, I would argue that that's probably a problem I still have. The only difference is that I'm usually able to get by with it until and in exchange, what I do is I focus on constructing kind of the industrial base with which I will then transition into late game hardware. So it's a little bit like how in Africa you don't have a lot of landlines, and like there just never were a lot of landlines. They just did a switch, like just kind of a leap into mobiles. So it's a little, that's kind of the approach that I've taken for my last few rounds of ZEPHON. But the other thing that's nice about saving and reloading is that, like let's say you have a strategy that you think is OP and you employ it. It's ego bruising to lose to the AI. But if you have something that you think is unstoppable and then the AI just completely demolishes you, that teaches you how to counter it. And likewise, if the AI does something to you that you feel is just pure nonsense, that like no human would ever be able to, handle that, well, most of the units, I mean, I think there's a handful that you can't get your hands on, but for the most part, most of what the game's going to throw at you, I believe, is something that you can play as one faction or another. And so in theory, letting the AI kind of beat you up a bit will teach you, it'll teach you something about the limits of what seem like insurmountable obstacles, or unusually powerful enemies. So with all that in mind, there's kind of this common theme that you may have detected in here, which is to try and isolate as many variables as you can, and then experiment a little bit with them so that you can find out more about how the game works. So we've done that with the Fallen Soldier, right? I changed the difficulty levels until I got to medium, right? I did the introduction, then I did a medium round, achieved victory as the Fallen Soldier. And I still like playing as the Fallen Soldier, but in this case, it's like, okay, I think I have an idea of how I want to play this. And unless I'm going to be raising the difficulty, I feel like I can reliably deliver wins as this character. And you know what? If the fun in games is, beating the AI, that's fine. I can just stay there. But it kind of feels like a shame to have bought all the DLC and not play around with some of the other factions, right? So what we did next was we went to the practical romantic. And the specific idea here was to consider the different human affinities. But what I specifically wanted to do was move away from the undying. So what I wanted to do was think a bit more about when I have units that don't get free healing, how do I pace myself so that I don't wind up with this just completely exhausted army that's not able to, to take on the enemy? And there were definitely a couple of blunders I made on this. One in particular was I lost sight of the end game. So that was one. I genuinely thought I was going to lose the last round, but we were able. So I think one of the things that worked was the Anchorite and ZEPHON wound up fighting each other with a couple of their Titans, and then the Chiefess wasn't an ally, but she threw enough of her soldiers at the Titans that I could... I think the first one was... I think it was an Anchorite Titan. But anyways, whatever one it was, I was able to knock one of them down just sort of as a cleanup job. And then that sort of led me... I was actually a little worried because then it suggested to me that probably ZEPHON would win the fight, which would then mean I more or less have full-strength ZEPHON Titans to go after. So I probably should have just let them, do their thing. But it took long enough that I was able to get the research to the Atlas tank and just generally be able to produce to the level that I needed. But in any case, we were able to kind of squeak out a win with the Practical Romantic. And what that translated into was just, okay, so, I've done a win as the Fallen Soldier. I've removed the benefit from the Fallen Soldier. I've still been able to deliver a win as a human. So I'm not going to suggest that I've mastered humanity. I still think I would struggle with the Hollow Warlord, who basically needs to be constantly killing or dying, or the loyalty just drops tremendously. But I don't know, for the most part, I sort of feel like I have a rough idea of what I want to do as a human. Now, one thing I can do, the game doesn't force you to go down a particular affinity. But in addition to the human affinity, there are two others. So there's the cyber affinity, and there is the voice affinity. So it's not totally wrong to compare it to Civilization Beyond Earth's affinity system, but I feel like this one there's definitely a heavier commitment that you're making. Which I know this is a longer introduction than I normally do, but I did want to give people a chance to come into the chat, and I am curious for those of you that are interested. I am actually trying to decide. The one thing I won't do as a human, but I am curious if there is an interest in voice or cyber. Because I'm not doing the humans, I won't go over all of the description, all of the faction descriptions, but maybe to give people a chance to give a voice if they want. I'll go through the ones that are options. I think I have let's say a first approximation of what I might want to do for either option, but I'll maybe talk a little bit about what I'm thinking about for these different groups, and then if I don't hear anything, I'll make a decision. But I am kind of curious what people would be interested in seeing. So, emulated mind, cyber affinity. She has no choice. ZEPHON unintentionally made her a twisted mirror of itself. Start with one engineer, one Exosia Marauder, one Isham Enforcer, and gain earlier and cheaper access to cyber technologies, including exclusive access to the highest tier of cyber research. Resource Network. The emulated mind is a master of logistics and supply management. Gain additional resources from outposts. Fortress Armament. Oblivion awaits anyone foolish enough to attack the emulated mind directly. Her city possesses a long-range defensive cannon. Trapped. The emulated mind is locked inside a single structure, so her people have built a citadel around her. She is limited to her starting city and can build no more. So that is a bit of a... Not a bit. That is actually a fairly heavy drawback. With Resource Network, you can try and sort of overcome the balance. But I am assuming if you have a tough start, like maybe if you're caught near a lot of water, I'm gonna guess it's actually quite difficult to run as the emulated mind. But I'm not ruling this out. I also don't 100% know what these elite things are, but well, we'll play and we'll find out. So the emulated mind, once connected with the entirety of human knowledge, an enemy database is child's play to her. Spend influence to temporarily duplicate research output from another player's city. Voice. The furtive tribunal. The three become bound as one by singing together the melody of the voice. Start with 2 Abkluth Dragoons, 1 Abkluth, 1 engineer, and gain earlier and cheaper access to voice technologies, including exclusive access to the highest tier of voice research. Dark Omen. Their connection with the voice allows them to see past what normal mortals see. Enemy units near the furtive tribunal cities are revealed, even when out of regular sight range. So I think that would be good for early game scouting as well, because I do tend to... I either have to combine my early units, or I need to be willing to accept some early losses for exploration. Whispers of the Voice. The voice's murmurings inspire impossible wisdom and capture whispers of the future. Spend influence to accelerate research. So this seems like a pretty strong benefit. Mysticism. The three believe that spiritual apprehension precedes intellect. Research laboratories have decreased output. All right. So I suppose, you know, I would need to feel pretty confident in my ability to generate influence in order to overcome the research. I would argue that mysticism is almost enough for me to rule out this faction, but we'll see. As the tribunal gives themselves over... the outsider. As the tribunal give themselves over to the voice, it graces them with an avatar of its love and its wrath. Spend influence to summon a terrifying voice unit from beyond this world. The character on the cover, the Heartless Artificer. So, cyber affinity, engineer life. The Artificer has no fear of abhorrent science if it helps the expansion of her people. Population growth is increased, so good for production. Foundation of Blood, low productivity, invokes the Artificer's ire, sacrifice population to increase production. That's kind of like chaos in Gladius. Immoral. The bright burning vision of the future espoused by the Artificer is inhumanly demeaning. To keep her population's ever-decreasing loyalty up, it must be reset using influence. So I think I'd be willing to accept... some hits to loyalty using influence. I would definitely need to keep on top of it, but I think I would prefer the Heartless Artificer to the Furtive Tribunal. The Infinite Count. This is a voice affinity. Perfect forever. Certain moments of death and horror seem to summon iterations of the Count. Spend influence to mark a unit which, when killed, spawns a caitiff. Time out of joint. The Count can take followers with him on his temporal wanderings, though their health is sapped. Spend influence to restore the action points and movement of a unit at the cost of their hit points. Ageless Hunger. The Count's presence is a constant drain on the lives of his people. Population growth rate is decreased, but killing enemies temporarily boosts growth. And See as I See. Others can be subjected to the Count's disoriented, atemporal experience of the world. Spend influence to reduce enemy morale over a large area. So Ageless Hunger feels like a real double-edged sword. If I'm really aggressive with combat, I can see that working well. But I definitely see a decrease to growth being something that bites me for sort of late-game economy. Platinum Scion. Cyber affinity. The sure thing. Even in the apocalypse, the Scion knows the art of the deal. Pay minerals to get a larger amount back later. This is a good one for me because I tend to hoard too many resources. Economies of scale. He may be superficial, but the Scion understands production lines. Unit cost is progressively reduced with each duplicate. Just ship it. The Scion cares not for product testing or safety. Only a quick buck. Non-hero units are produced with a random debuff. And personal visit. His handshake and smile are almost as motivating as his mercurial mood. Spend influence to increase the output of all buildings on a tile. Just ship it is definitely one that I can see this hurting me a lot. Rogue Operative. Another cyber affinity. Hit and run. The quick-witted operative refuses to be bound by conventional tactics. Units may move after taking an action. That's quite strong, actually. Augments. The rogue operative was born a skilled hacker, but her augments turned her into a savant. Spend influence to augment a single attribute on a non-large unit. Independent. A crew of free thinkers and radicals follow the operative into battle, but they are all looking out for number one. Population has increased loyalty upkeep. That doesn't... I'm not ruling that out. So the greatest secret weapon ever produced by Icar Corp is now in the sole control of the rogue operative. Spend influence to fire it on enemy forces. Syncretic Deva. Also, cyber affinity, hidden wisdom. The Deva's knowledge of pre-collapse technologies is unparalleled. If his followers can winkle it out of him, gain free research over the first 10 turns. Everyone is welcome in the Deva's city, though he fears the tyranny of the majority. Each new type of building in a city increases loyalty. Each duplicate building decreases loyalty. This is definitely the Tau from Gladius. Idol worship. The Deva's followers upgrade their bodies to be mechanized like his, ignoring his indifference to their efforts. Population also has energy upkeep, but production buildings can produce loyalty. That's an interesting one. Twisted Mother. Voice affinity. Gifts of the voice. When her burning smile is turned on you, you feel so very special. Spend influence to buff your units at a cost. Tender ministrations. Despite her afflictions, the mother insists that all her children care for one another. Increased healing rate if adjacent to an allied unit. Abhorrent, though her kindness is obvious, the mother's appearance and unreliable personality puts off independence. Gain less from trading pacts. This actually feels like a pretty... This feels like a very good, like, first round character. And Untold Prophet, also voice affinity. Prophet's followers spread his word across the land, benefit from a reduced loyalty penalty for each city. Words of the Prophet, all may be forgiven by the Prophet's touch. Spend influence to convert an enemy unit. Cost of conviction, the cult must never be allowed to waver. Population also has influence upkeep. This feels like a very strong faction. So I think if I were to do voice, I'd say Untold Prophet, Twisted Mother, or Infinite Count. I feel slightly inclined towards the Infinite Count for some reason. And my high-risk option would be the Emulated Mind. I would be willing to consider the Heartless Artificer. Or maybe the Rogue Operative. So I'll maybe say we're like half an hour in, so I feel like I should kind of get on with it. But does anyone have a preference? Because I'm going to be doing a new... I want to be doing something other than human. Voice is sort of the Eldritch and Occult one, and Cyber is the more cyberpunky, robot one. I am slightly inclined toward Voice, which I think I'll do the Infinite Count with. And if I do Cyber... Let's say... Yeah, I'd have to decide between Emulated Mind, Rogue Operative, and Heartless Artificer. But I'm most inclined towards the Infinite Count. So what I'll do here is I'll read the description. Oh, good lord, it's a fairly long one. So I'll read the description. If anybody doesn't object, then we'll run with the Infinite Count, which will be my very first time playing voice, by the way. Once more, we meet for the first time. And you are sitting with a young lawyer and his friends, 2 sisters and 2 poets, pouring out your impossible tale, resisting as long as you can before the pull takes you again. The other sisters, 3, lecture you and your friends. There is devoted Simone, whose spine one day bursts insectoid from her shriveled form. There's Petra, who change-burgeoned until it could travel like babes in his ribcage. On the steps to take, on the binding of the eyes, of the flayings to come. And you are again 1,000 years before that time, emerging from the chrysalis of your existence, repeatedly born anew each time. Sometimes bestial on all fours, occasionally winged like the night, oft the most delightful specimen of nocturnal humanity, sharp-toothed and hungry for experience, but always fascinating, always with your future trapped. And forever and forever and forever, you are journeying back to that room in the bunker and what will be the tribunal, so definite that name, learning at their heels as they become one and many, and forget you and leave you all behind, and none of you truly died, but only they truly departed. And you return, and the women are fled, and the young men are all gone, dead of the plague or drowning, or at their own hand, each leaving a tale of the horror that alludes to the curse you birthed that night by the lake near Geneva. And you are insensate, following the voice for the first time, and the hunger for the real starting certainties of your form and time falling away. And you live backwards through the life of a king, his infallible advisor, and you know then and now and forever that you are neither one thing or another, one time or another. And the brash poet pulls you sodden from the lake, and the lawyer grasps at you, vampire, and your canines retract. That is not an easy one to read. However, some of this definitely seems to indicate some of the endgame stuff we run into. So, anyways, we're going to be trying the voice for the first time. I'm going to stick with medium and such. Hello, never seen this game before. Have I played it before? I have, O of the Sun, and welcome. So just to, I know I've been taking a long time to get into the game, so I'll just give you a quick overview. So I have played the introduction as the Fallen Soldier. I've played a medium difficulty round a few times as the Fallen Soldier. I've won all but my very first time running into the endgame event. In order to learn the game a bit better, I then switched from the Fallen Soldier to the Practical Romantic. So one of the main differences is that the Fallen Soldier gets an automatic heal, and I wanted to try something with the human affinity that didn't have that heal, so it didn't become a crutch. And what I want to do now is do something that isn't the human affinity, and that would either be cyber or voice, and this time around I've chosen the infinite count, which is one of the DLC with the voice affinity. So if this is your first time seeing it, this is a really, really interesting 4X game. So definitely one to sit in. Very happy to answer questions, but I am going to be learning on this one myself. So I will, I'll try and talk about the things that I find interesting, but I love answering questions as best as I can. Looks straight from Cultist Simulator. Of course you like him.
We were not ready for their divine judgment. We were tested, and almost everyone just failed. Their dark mysticism shattered an era of enlightenment and ushered in the dusk of the 21st century. Billions of lives were lost in a heartbeat, turned to ash, and cast away in the wind. Our soldiers were gone, but our weapons kept fighting, driven by an enigma in the networks. Their surviving forces waged a desperate crusade against the machines. We became bystanders to a relentless war. Now our world is an ever-twisting nightmare. Hellish threats lurk in every whisper and shadow. There is no glory, only survival. Deliver us from this trial. Reclaim our world for mankind.
Kind of game you play to feel good about yourself. So there will be a quiz on what happened. So this is one thing with so Istra Belania raised the point. For those of you who are just checking out this channel for the first time, I play a really interesting role-playing game called Cultist Simulator. And one of the things that is interesting about Cultist Simulator is it doesn't tell its story very directly. You are sort of left to draw inferences from sort of the little scraps of information that it gives you. And ZEPHON actually takes the time to tell a story, but it tells the story in a similar way. So from that opening cinematic, you know that things are bad, but you don't necessarily know all of these different factions, right? So we'll be going into the details. So as you read the descriptions, you learn a little bit more about the world. But effectively, again, I'll borrow what somebody, or just steal, let's be honest, what somebody said on YouTube before. It's like, the ZEPHON is the game that asks the questions, why stop at one apocalypse? Why not three? So in addition to an alien invasion, which is aligned with this eldritch horror known as The Voice, which is the affinity I'm playing with, There is also a rogue AI, which is sort of running the cyber side of things. And then humanity is basically at Mad Max level. So you have 3 disasters going on instead of just the one. And you get to learn a little bit more about sort of what happened, who's responsible, and so on and so forth. But again, it does kind of expect you to do some work for it. You do actually need to sort of read the descriptions of things, which I think is a really interesting way to tell a story in a 4X, because very rarely are you going to care about the story in a 4X. So let's get started with, well, you know, turn 1. We got to build the city, right? So normally I just do whatever the game recommends. So I should maybe just note the... there are going to be different priorities I have as a voice unit. So I'm noticing here that I need algae. So with that in mind, if I have an opportunity to generate more algae, I might want to take it. So for instance, here, I might be able to build more chips, but it's not obvious to me that I'm going to need them. So I can build here. Now, I guess one benefit is that there's 40 minerals, which is good for construction. But then I also get 40 minerals here. God, this is a harder one than I thought. I'm going to go to the far end. Oops. Okay, we'll worry about building everything a little bit later. So it looks like I only get 2 units at the start here. So there's a human cache, and then there's a voice cache. I'll pick up the goodies here. All right, so this is going to take us a little bit, but this is going to be a way that we can learn a bit more about the world. So we've gained influence from the cache. City discovered. Urban warfare is brutal. Every piece of cover that protects your troops feels like it gives double the shielding to your enemy. I preferred defending cities under siege than street-to-street fighting. In a siege, you felt solidarity with civilians and other soldiers. In the streets, you could only trust your squad. Anyone else might sell you out. There's also some bonuses here, but I think I have a pretty good idea of what those do. So the sharpshooters attack the engineers. Human cache discovered. We'd find traces of other groups while out on recon pre-war or recent survivors. There'd be found abandoned gear by a campfire, dust-covered resource caches, occasionally a lone soul who struck out on their own. Another fighting hand was always welcome, but their stories about making it out on their own, that inspiration had its own value. So, and then these are some examples of things that you can get from the human caches. Water. Water still coursed through the planet's arteries and was still the key vessel in making life. Even the cybernetic creatures of our world needed water-cooled facilities. A grim tragedy, then, that though all the warring factions respected the waterways, our escalating conflict would poison them for future generations. As far as I can tell, there are no naval units in the game yet. There are flying units, but I don't think there's anything you can do with the water. It's more of an obstacle. Wasteland. The Akron didn't think of these as wastelands. They must have been thrilled when they found their precious algae grew naturally and took over some Earth environments. This is what they wanted to do to our whole planet. We made the most of it. We had a war to win, after all, but I made plans to burn every algae site to the ground when it all ended. So I'll try to act as a little bit of a guide when we introduce new terms. So the Akron are the aliens that invaded, and they're voice aligned. So we will run into some Akron later, but we haven't seen them yet. Sharpshooters. Ever listen to a sniper spotter team at work? It's so clinical until it isn't. Go to Sector 3 Delta. Contact. Thank you very much, Ellen Ripley, for gifting that sub. That's, first of all, you are ridiculously generous to the channel. But I'm always happy to see you in here. Yeah, if I don't, I have a minimalist setup, but I figure give something a little special for when people follow and sub and things like that. Anyway, go to Sector 3 Delta. Contact. 5 degrees off the oozing pile of meat. Contact. Go to glass. Target has 4 limbs and an arm hanging out of its mouth. Confirm? That's fuck. Fuck, yeah, that's your target. Confirm. All right, so normally what I would do in these cases, I'd also be reading the different attacks and all of that. We will be going over the combat in a little bit later, so I'm just going to leave it be for now. But you kind of already see the whole idea with the sharpshooters. They're really nasty against infantry, and they have a really long range. Roads. The first night after we got our first roads constructed, I hopped in an outrider and drove for miles. Burned too much gas just to feel the wind running through my hair, feeling the tires grip the asphalt as I took the turns. I didn't want to go back to the war. I just wanted to drive forever. I actually don't even know where the road is. It should show me. Yeah, there it is. Icon of Verodai. That time the voice cultists held me captive. They kept me prisoner in one of these shrines to Verodai, used me as bait, slaughtered the troops sent to rescue me and sacrificed to their god, then tossed the bodies in the algae pools when they were finished. So I do just want to highlight here, this is something that I actually have within my city, my kind of the range of my city. Only 21 gift subs until Nadge upgrade? What kind of scam are you running? Badge upgrade? I didn't realize this is a thing that they... It says you've given 30. I didn't know that there was a... I didn't realize that there was another... Didn't realize it was another thing. Whatever that is, that's not from me. All right, so basically by taking this territory, regardless of whether or not it's within your city limits, it'll give me half an algae per turn, which is good because that's the one. Apparently giving the weird number of 51 gets you a better That's horrible. Hey, the Eyes of Sin. Man, I wasn't expecting you to... I would kind of expect you to be here for something like, what is it? Like Ace Attorney and stuff like that. But it surprises me to see you stop by for the nerdy ZEPHON game. Always delighted to see you, though. By the way, for those of you who don't know, because people have emotes now, Eyes of Sin is the one responsible for all the emotes. And also does commissions, for those of you looking to commission emotes. So it'll give half an algae per turn, energy per turn. If I claim it within my city, it'll give 200%. And then there's also cover damage reduction, so on and so forth. But the big one on this one is that this is a good one for me to claim. Sorry, it's a good one for me to own. Excuse me, because it gives me the resources that my faction needs. On top of that, I can claim it within my city limits to increase the rate at which it will be acquiring those resources. Okay. Oh no, I was definitely not taking attendance there, Eyes of Sin. It surprises me a little bit just because I thought I had a good read on the sort of stuff that you like to play, but all right. Melta Delta. And by the way, I know I know some people are interested in the game here. It's going to be a long start just because it's the first turn. We found so many new items, but we will be interacting with the actual game quite shortly. Voice cache. It was no secret who left these caches behind. Akron wanderers, desperate to survive on the ruins of Earth, were a common enough occurrence. It felt good to take something back from them, even if it was just one of their troops. Making their resources a part of our war effort was more mud in their eye. They tried to kill us, we survived. Now we eat from their table. Bleed, discovered. The voice's tendrils bled out from one reality and into our own, prying open the door to madness. These should not have plagued our Earth. Their sickly, slimy extremities reached out in search of flesh or metal to ensnare. I can't even escape the sight of them in my sleep. Some nights, often on a full moon, I wake sweating, still feeling the phantom pull of them dragging me to the earth. I assume this was all in my head, but I've heard the whispers in the mess hall. Others dream of being crushed too. Ruins discovered, Earth that was, the old world, the before times. There were plenty of ways to refer to life before the Akron. None of them could sum up what it felt like to gaze on the ruins and daydream what it was like before. Soon children will be born with no memory of this place. I don't know if I envy them or not. I can't imagine fighting without this sadness in me. So extra minerals for ruins tiles, but fewer building slots, and then of course benefits to cover and so on and so forth. Arc discharge. Do you know what this was? ZEPHON's wiring ran under everything, everywhere. Miles and miles of raw copper. These arcs were a fraction of a fraction of a fraction of ZEPHON's power lashing out at you. You could take advantage of that power if you wanted, but your enemies could too. By the way, I found out just recently, I think this, I was, like the cool guy that I am on the weekend, I was reading about the old Bell system, right? Before AT&T was sort of like broken up. And apparently only recently, or like maybe it's like within the next year or so, are they actually finally abandoning the copper wire laid by the original like Bell telephone system. It's that long that infrastructure has lasted. So arc discharge reminded me of that. Brush. You'd find small creatures feeding on plants out in the grasslands, bigger mammals feeding on the creatures, and so on and so on. If we had more time, we could have worked to carefully place ourselves in that cycle. Instead, we disrupted it, forced ourselves into it. An army marches on its stomach, and we had bellies to fill. Volcanic. After the fulcrum cracked the tectonic plates apart, there was volcanic activity across the globe, way more than the shot itself caused. A new research had a decent theory. ZEPHON could now access rare minerals near the Earth's core and was mining down there. Smart kid. I hope she makes it. So the fulcrum was one of the weapons that the Akron used in the original invasion. Forest. The last day I ever thought of the forest as safe, I was camped up by a creek, scratching out battle plans in the dirt. Then there was the crack of a branch. I was too slow to react. My spotter was cut down by gunfire from the opposite bank. There was no solace in the trees after that, only 1,000 rustling branches that disguised the sound of enemy movement. Rocks discovered. Mining stone from the earth is one of the first indications of civilization. Too bad the terrain made it hard to build civilization in regions like this. I was grateful we didn't have to move stone like our ancestors did, but guarding supply runs to and from the mines always made me nervous. And construct. ZEPHON must have needed an inconceivable amount of power to wage its war against the Akron. The text guessed that if fossil fuels or renewables were being quickly taken offline, it would react by building zones like these to generate new power-efficient resources. If you got far enough into one of these zones, you'd start to think that the planet was one giant machine. This is the one that gives the extra chips, but in this case I didn't really go for it just because I don't really have any need for the chips. And sorry, I did see Diver die their Eyes of Sin, so I'm glad to hear of it. Okay, what else? I think I'll just leave it there. I do need to order the cities. So before, I do want to build a Midnight Chorus. It will generate bleed, so I may want to put it in a tile that will give a bonus to bleed. The other options I have are the greenhouse farm for food, mineral extractor for minerals, power plant for energy, or the fermentation vat for additional algae. Let's go for... We'll expand to this one first. I suppose I also have the option of using this empty building slot here. I think it's the only one that gives me extra power. Well, not the only one, but yeah, we'll do that. Finally, we need to choose research. So this is, again, I'm doing my very first round as voice. You are not bound to just one affinity. There is a mutator that you can turn on for that. But in this case, I've tried to stick to the affinity that I start with. Now, one lesson that I learned quite late was the end game. The end game's coming. I need to prepare. So I need to think about how I get to Verodai's Leviathan, which is one of the Titan units. Now, I don't need to worry about this yet. There'll be intermediate stages. I'll want to build additional cities. I'll want to make sure that I get things like the I guess unholy haste, but there's the trans-uranium stabilizer, there's the antimatter plant, and there should be something that gets me extra, like higher level. Oh, there it is, the sealed hermitage. So here's what I'm going to do. The basics here, so I do like to start with specimen containment sometimes because it gives me research for killing things. We've got In Search of Lost Time, which will lower... Okay, that's interesting. So this reduces the cost of me getting the extra turn with my unit. The new stuff for voice, so we've got Blessed Infestation, an additional 0.5 algae for each greenhouse farm in the city. Quite tempting. Canonical of Dusk produces voice creatures as well as generates food and algae. Devotees of Thrakos. These are actually pretty strong because they do extra damage against wounded units. House of the Borderland, which will give plus 1.5 algae on a headquarters. Presenter of Nihilus, extra experience for units produced at each Midnight Chorus. Toxic Spearhead for the Dragoon's Spear. And the Whisperer of Goldrot, biological hovering hero with ranged abilities to heal and summon allies, as well as reveal damaged enemies. Now, if I recall correctly, you need three technologies from the previous tier to level up. There's actually quite a few things I'd kind of like to get. So I think I'm going to do my usual and claim specimen containment, though. Shallow foundations. Perhaps they follow because you are unique. After all, of the Voice's human disciples, only you returned intact, with uncanny foresight. What does it matter that your relationship with time is somewhat antagonistic? That your insights stop at the present day? That your presence is a leeching curse, draining all life into the bleed? You look like a leader. Strong, capable, handsome, tall, dark. God, I play games to avoid my day-to-day life, right? You stand in front of the city and wave off the troops. Today, the sickness of the deja vu is overwhelming. Okay, well, looks like the sharpshooters are in range, so we'll beat the crap out of them over here. So you'll notice here it says unleashed, so enemy units don't always go out of their way to attack you. You have to antagonize them first, but in this case here, that's what I want to do. I'm going to go to the icon. This is just because I can't close the distance fully, and I figure we can do this next turn while we'll close the distance and take them out in the second turn. There's not a whole lot else for me to do right now, so we'll just cross into the next turn. All right, they ran away like babies. So I'll run up like this. The Earth's riches pulled to the surface. So, Blinding Fire Mountain. Now, time out of joint. Fuck this temporal bullshit. I wish I said that to the Count's face. His power felt good at first, a rush of energy on the battlefield that kept you moving and shooting. But there's always the price for fucking with the time stream. I paid for it too often. So I'm going to try time out of joint here just so I can do it. That's going to cost 4. Ooh, that'll clear out my influence. I'm not sure I want to do that yet. So we're going to take a pretty solid hit. Yeah, I'm gonna live with it. Volcano. The Akron's opening salvo with that damned fulcrum cracked open the earth and shifted its tectonic plates. The battlefield was littered with massive volcanoes on every continent, towers of burning air, ash, and fire that cooked good soldiers alive. Whispering whites. Everyone had a different story about what caused the nightmarish whispering out in the wasteland. Some said it was the wails of humans killed by the fulcrum. Others said it was warnings about the future from another dimension. Funny, even monsters with more eyes than limbs shrank in terror from when that soft-speaking voice appeared in thin air. Cybercache, machines don't need to squirrel away supplies, and they sure as hell don't leave anything behind when they abandon a base. So what were these doing out in the wastes? Was someone or something experimenting on us? Dispensing supplies to see how it changed the face of the war? All these years and I still don't know who's behind them. Microchip fabricators. ZEPHON's microchip manufacturing process relied on a decentralized network. There was a brief period where we thought capturing enough of these fabricators would draw its attention. But why would it care? If one fabricator went offline, it could manufacture a new one a safe distance away. Its production queue barely interrupted. Now, I don't really need the chips, but more resources are more resources, so I will claim this at some point. But clearly we want to take out the sharpshooters first. All right, so we've expanded. We did want to build a midnight chorus. This is to just deal with the rather severe shortage of units that I have. There's Blinding Fire Mountain. River discovered every predator on Earth knew that you will find your prey at their weakest when they search for water. And prey species knew that when they seek water, they risk being hunted. You do well to make yourself the predator, but if you find yourself as the prey, remember that crossing the rushing water will slow down most hunters. Fire! Word spread quickly about the Battle of Castic Plain. Our forces staged an assault to take control of a water reserve from the enemy. Shots were fired, the wind was high, the ground dry as kindling. Inside of an hour, a wildfire surrounded both armies. They should have stopped fighting, worked together to douse the flames, but instead hundreds were killed and the fresh water poisoned, never to be drunk again. All right, let's... Interesting. So this is leashed again. Oh, you know what? It would have been smarter for me to take the cash and then hit these guys. Now, one small drawback here is that I haven't finished specimen containment. That's 2 turns away. But in this case, I can wipe it out, right? So if I had the 60 influence, I could have turned it into another caitiff, but I actually probably should describe what the caitiff can do here. So, caitiffs, what? No made-up god for this flavor of freak? I'd killed one of these horror shows and wanted one of its hooks for a trophy. But then it was like the fucker heard me. It grabbed me with the human left arm and clubbed my head with the right, getting back to its feet, and why did it sound like it was laughing? So, biological melee monsters that hobble enemies, burn easily, and return to life after death. So, group size 3. 2 armor, 24 hit points, 8 morale, 4 movement. The weapon that it has, fused billhooks. Pull a hook off a dead caitiff and you might vomit from the smell. Found out why after having a scientist look at them. Not made in a factory, she said. It grew on the host's body. It's basically a tumor. So the fused billhooks, this will take a little bit of explaining. So the first icon here is damage. So it does 3 damage, 3 armor piercing. There are 2 attacks, and there are 3 units in the group. So if you're at full strength, the damage would basically be, and those of you who are familiar with the game are going to know that this is not right. So 2 attacks, 3 units, so that's 6 at 3 damage with 3 armor piercing. So you'd think that would be 18. However, there's also accuracy in the game. So its accuracy is 6, which translates to 50%. So basically what you can do is just, 2 attacks, we'll just count that and cut that in half. So in this case, it's actually 9 damage that this will do. And then it has hobbling. So basically, I believe it reduces hit points if you move. That seems to be what it's suggesting here. And then it can't go across cliffs. Now, the thing here is, right, if you take too much damage, you're going to lose a unit. And so as a result, it's not going to be contributing towards the damage. There's another interesting thing about the combat here where if you like, let's say you have a tank, right? So the tank is going to do a large amount of damage with its shell, but it's just going to hit one thing. So if you have a swarm of like weak single units, so let's say like 6 units with 1 hit point each. Well, 1 hit point each is a little much, but like basically the idea here is the shell is going to take out 1 of the 6, but the rest of the damage is going to be wasted. So in some cases, it can actually be valuable to sort of have a swarm of infantry to just go in and make sure you mop things up. Because if you just fire one big bomb and it hits one poor guy, it's not an efficient way of doing the damage. On the other hand, if you have something that does a lot of damage, it can be beneficial to try and increase the accuracy. Because at that point, right, you're just doing... You're getting a percentage on a very, very large number. Whereas if you have a relatively weak weapon, increasing your accuracy isn't going to do as much in terms of the damage. So there's a bit of nuance in terms of how the calculations work. Desiccated, 100% extra damage from fire damage. Infinite, so this is a passive. If you get killed, you come back. And Leeching Touch, so basically you get healed. Oh, actually, I think I need to... Yeah, I think I actually need to perform the attack. Hammerheads. Hammerheads were powerful if incoherent tools. Once provoked into combat, they'd pick a target and batter it repeatedly, with each blow more powerful than the last. Perversely, when at peace, these machines were like robotic gardeners, specialized in eradicating the bleed of the voice. Trying to decide if I want to pick a fight with them. I don't even know if you can. I'll get the cash, and then we'll move back to the... Arctic. The frigid wastes of old Earth were now home to snow-white abcluth that hyper-evolved to hunt in a new environment. We still struck out here for one vital reason. This terrain gave our techs an optimal environment to do their research. Low humidity and temperatures combined with clear sight lines made weapons testing far more efficient, they said. Maybe they just preferred the cold. That's tempting to eat. Specimen containment. We once had an abcluth contained in a prototype specimen container at a field outpost. It was pacing the confined space, slamming itself into walls at random intervals. I thought it was trying to escape until a pack of abcluths swarmed our camp, devouring a group of helpless techs. It had been signaling to its pack. We soundproofed the containers after that. So +3 research gained per experience gained when killing a neutral unit. So I need to decide... I think I'm most tempted to go for the hero unit now. What I'm also going to do... So it looks like I can't go after the flying unit. That is actually... That's a good one for me to keep in mind. Obviously, I want to try and kill as many units as I can now that I get this research bonus, but I'm going to take the points where I can. Also, the Cassiel Shredders. Siding with the machines made more sense after watching a pack of Shredders eviscerate the fleshy meat sacks of a dark vassal. The buzzsaws tore away hunks of meat from its bones, and it died with its organs spilling out onto the ground. It was such a sight that I didn't even mind the smell. So I'm going to take some pretty bad damage here from the fire, I suspect. Ooh, this will be interesting. Incoming call from the Anchorite. So we were talking about the Akron. Say hello to the conquerors of Earth. Merciful potentate. War divides us, yes, but to beg a moment. To be the eldest remaining of Akron, to follow prophecy and bring a cleansing torch to your world. To all life remains the threat. To know our failure, to now face extinction. To know that death follows you, to know that you could end it yourself. Your standing with the anchorite has decreased because of ageless hunger, so they're not going to like me. All right, I'm thinking this is not going to work, but let's try and offer peace. And a moment of amity leads to peace, perhaps. To sleep, perchance to dream. To know my people, the Akron will gladly assist, but we are sadly ill-equipped. Oh, paying for it? That is quite beyond the pale. No, the faux pas is done. Do not apologize. Peace is my hope, but I do not forget my purpose. To keep the universe safe, I and my people sacrifice everything. Your feeble military had a major impact on this decision. A necessary parting indeed. Okay, so if I go through more fire, I am going to regret it. So at this point, I'm going to back off and heal. You know, the better thing would be to heal by attacking. So maybe we'll go pick up that voice cache instead. And then there's Akron Zealots over there, so... Akron Zealots, pity the grunts. One day they learned about the Zealots, Akron, who could walk into one patch of bleed tendrils and emerge from another. Next thing, every bleed hub had a bunch of idiot soldiers hunkered outside it. Like the Akron were just going to walk into their bullets. Jesus, where do we find these people? I'm curious if I can... Ah, interesting. I can take these things out. Okay, so I was originally going to do a normal attack, but here I actually need to heal up. That did not heal as much as I thought it was going to. There we go. Missile teams. Plenty of militants were eager to pilot anti-armor bots far from the battlefield, but resentment quickly grew between the missile operators and the frontline grunts. The solution? We docked rations every time the missile team pilots tripped their drones or missed a shot. It was better if they hated us, not each other. Alright, we've got our Midnight Chorus, so I can build Abkluth Dragoons, biological melee bleedwalkers that can take control of enemy Abkluth. That seems really good. And these things cost 5... and it takes 5. Okay, so we're about neutral in terms of producing algae. The real question is, what do I want to build next? One option I have is to claim the icon of Verodai. But there is a temptation to build the fermentation vat. There's also a temptation to build a mineral extractor because I am going to need that. You know what, let's go for fermentation vat first. Then we'll get the icon, then we'll expand. I may change the order for that later, but... Come back! Advanced voice cache. High-value Akron caches literally fell from the sky. In the aftermath of the destruction of their fleet, we watch debris descend from orbit on a daily basis, sometimes dropping supplies or survivors right on our border. Finding these caches should have been a relief, but it was just a reminder about the great metal graveyard swooping above our heads, raining down debris that might kill us all. Oh, more lunch. I might have bit off more than I can chew. Ooh, yeah. Whisperer of Goldrosh. There were rumors of a woman who bound her ears, covered her eyes, and well, what she did to her skin, she wanted to feel nothing, only the voice. She was the closest any human came to understanding the Akron. She wrapped their pain up in herself and carved out a new purpose. Don't get in her way. So, this will be the last one that I need to research before we can go to tier 2. I do need to build a laboratory sooner rather than later. I just want to see what I can build at the Canticle of Dusk. Yeah, let's go for it. So I have a couple of options here. I could back off and try and heal up, but remember that this unit does get to respawn. So in this case, we're going to go... We're going to be tough. If I want, I can spend influence on time out of joint. I'm not going to do that, though, because I do want to build the Whisper of Goldrock. Militants. Everyone who survived fought. Every one of us could have been a soldier. We called ourselves militants, though, because it reflected that we now fought for a purpose, political or social, the survival of mankind, whatever it took. So I'm expecting this unit will be killed, but I'm also expecting that we'll come back and be able to eat these things next turn. Cool. I don't actually know what's causing them the damage. Okay, now, I am a little curious. It's gonna be close, but I should be able to survive. In fact, because we're already building the Whisperer. Hang on. Yeah, it doesn't do that much damage anymore, so... Ooh, that's not good. What the hell is causing all this damage? Alright, I needed one more turn. So I'm gonna run away and hope for the best. But I may have overdone it in terms of where I left this unit. This is a tricky one, actually, because I probably should sit and wait. Ooh, that's good. So I'm going to heal up here. That's mostly because I expect a unit will be able to sort of retaliate. It's going to be able to fire on me for moving in the region. So I'm going to let these guys act as scouts, and then once we know what we're up against, then we can move this unit in to heal with Leeching Touch. Do more Dragoons. We fight as one. Cries for help, an intermittent radio signal, faint, distant voices, and sounds of gunfire. A small group of human survivors has gotten bogged down in the wilds and is in dire need of help. They beg, demand, threaten. Your soldiers know this group. They are fierce fighters known as the Splenetics, and will be a great help if we can reach them. But if we ignore them, they will never forget it, and they will hold a grudge as long as they live. Hello, Vanguard Master. Promise to help. You take the radio mic from your aide and personally assure the survivors that help is on the way. Now you just have to stick to your word. Can your troops get to them in time? The route is tangled, the enemy is numerous, and the Splenetics are far off. Now that you've promised help, if you fail, who knows what they'll do if they survive. So we got to find these guys in 10 turns. I think at this point, this is one I'm willing to take a bit of risk for. The other two are a bit far away, but we do have sort of this cavalry-style unit, so... here's what I'm going to do. I am going to go after the Cassiel Shredders. Oop. Wasn't quite enough to seal the deal, so... that was silly of me. This is, again, just pursuing that research.
No such thing as safe anymore.
And then what I want to do here, so there's something special about the assault rifle here. I should actually be looking at the traits of all the weapons. So the assault rifle, in this case, has plus 100% attacks at half range. So the idea here is it's 1.2 damage, no armor piercing. So there's six attacks at 1.2, but again, that accuracy of 6, so 50%. So maybe the better way of thinking of this is treat it like it's 3 1.2 attacks. So that's 3.6. But if I do so at close range, then it's actually 7.2. So if I go... so you could also see here, right? It's 2.4 damage when I move up like this. Alternatively, I can go into the forest here. Oops. That's not good. So yeah, either one of these are probably going to unleash the unit. So I guess the question is, who do I hate more? I think I'll go after the hammerheads. Alright, that's gonna... I'll need some thinking. Recycling tanks, disgusting stuff. Voice cults eking out a pathetic living in the wastes built these facilities to manufacture more algae. No need to build graveyards when you could just dump bodies and viscera into a toxic pit that turned out to be a vile meat slush. I kept a particle mask on while visiting sites like this. Okay, let's see what the damage is. God, there's a lot of... Canticle of Dusk. Not all the alterations of the voice achieve enlightenment, I'm told, especially those sub-acron in some way. Nor do they die. Those failed drift out of the passion, healed but changed, often bestial. I wonder if this is where the Akron's weird creatures come from, failed zealots, or whether they are just creatures native to their home, who joined them in a journey across the stars. Okay, I'm thinking probably habitation block is the next one for us to build. I'll also probably need to do a hollow theater. Next up, let's think about... okay, so the first thing I'm going to do with the splenetics is move into the forest, just so we can take advantage of the cover. So that gives me a small advantage here, right? So one of the things I needed to worry about was the health of the caitiffs. But what I can do now is I can first of all use the splenetics to whittle down some of the health of the missile teams. And because this has already used its Overwatch, what I get to do now is I get to move up. Now the drawback is I don't have any cover for these guys. But we can do Leeching Touch. So they're now down to 2. I'm up to 2. And, you know, presumably we're going to be able to clean up the rest in short order. Now, the Dark Vassal, or Vassail, or whatever. This one's kind of fun. It's gross, but fun. So, not all who hear the voice can comprehend it. Not all come back from the edge, or not alone. Is it better to come back like this? A bag of aggregated human systems and minds, or not at all? What must it be like to be in there? So, this thing, 48 hit points, 8 morale. It's got the larva cannon. it has the trait Horrifying, -2 morale to the attacked enemy. So 3 damage, 3 armor piercing, 3 attacks, I guess, at 50%. So basically 4.5. But the big thing here is just the morale hit that people take. The drawback here is that I am damaged. Ooh, and it gets extra damage from hammerheads. So this could be dangerous. I am going to retaliate. There you go. So Shaken, minus 17% on attacks, but it does extra. We get a bonus to damage. Now again, these are melee units, so they're not really going to be able to do that much. I do want to go up and save the Splenetics. We have to do that in 9 turns, but given where we are right now, I also want to defend the bag of meat. So, and I should have read the description for the Abgluth Dragoons. When they crashed, the Akron brought creatures with them, monstrous lizard things, tearing Earth wildlife apart. Given their docility around the Akron, I suspect they were meant for pets or food, but that didn't stop the voice cults from using them for war. So in this thing, Dragoon Spear, 2 with armor piercing, 3 of them for the number of attackers, 50% off, so basically 3 damage. Oh, sorry, it also has the Abgluth Bite, so there it's 2 sets of attacks.
Mind the tail.
And Swamp discovered. All kinds of life made its home in the swamps. If you could handle the humidity, you'd be able to find plenty of food and keep your army on its feet. Experienced trackers knew to watch for muddy terrain. If your feet sunk in too far, you were easy picking for any hunters on your tail. All right, let's see the consequences of my actions. Now, this is advantageous to me because we get to move into cover now. And I think we're going to do Perfect Forever.
This isn't the world I knew.
So Perfect Forever gets me another batch of these guys.
I'm not dying today.
All right. I'm going to do something a little unexpected here. I'm going to move the unit up into the into this recycling area. That's because it gives me cover and it lets me heal a little bit faster. So if I'm going to fight the hammerheads here, I am again getting distracted from the Splenetics, so I do want to make sure that I get back on track. But again, all of this is a nice opportunity for some XP and so research. All right, so the Whisperer of Goldrock. There were rumors of a woman. All right, well, we've read this before, but there were rumors of a woman who bound her ears, covered her eyes, and well, what she did to her skin, she wanted to feel nothing. Only the voice. She was the closest any human came to understanding the Akron. She wrapped their pain up in herself and carved out a new purpose. Don't get in her way. So, Horrors of Space, minus morale to the attacked enemy, 3 armor piercing, 2 damage, 3 attacks, 67%. Biological hero, hovering. Okay. So, my abilities. We can do Cry of Contrition, plus 6 hit points on the target allied damaged biological unit, but at a cost of her own HP. Call of the Afflicted spawns deformities, biological melee monsters that create deformities by killing but lose hit points each turn. Also costs 10, it costs 10 algae, which I can't really afford right now. And Echoes from Beyond reveals target and adjacent tiles. That is tempting. I think we're going to use her as a scout for a start.
I will bring the voice to new disciples. I will let you see what the voice already knows.
Holy crap, we got a bunch of stuff to check out. Watchtower. The techs are still trying to figure out who built these. The architecture is human, but we haven't found any survivors who took credit for building them. ZEPHON doesn't need these to see, and the Akron survivors never liked staying in one place. It was eerie. We used these towers to get the high ground and watch our enemies, but they always left you feeling like someone else was watching you. Cicadas. Look, I don't make the rules. Bugs were rich in protein and easy to cook into larger meals. Some of our people had lived in pre-war countries where cicadas were regularly on the menu. Catching them kept our people's bellies fed, and anyone who complained, well, they had two choices: starve or swallow their pride. There's busters down there. The Reavers refused to be left behind in an arms race. As we built stronger armor, they scavenged more powerful weapons to break through it. Some found a particular love for fire. They would strike our flanks like a blazing hot wind, lobbing incendiary grenades that melted our troops to the bone. They wanted us to know that if all of them were slaughtered, they would, until all of them were slaughtered, they would always be a threat. Okay. So I suppose at this point I should build the Canticle of Dusk. We'll see about the rest of this. Advanced cyber cache. For a short time, some of my lieutenants tried to work out the point of these cache drops. If they gave us resources, it must have been to maximize a specific form of production. If we found units, we assumed we should build strategies around them. I told them to snap out of it. We'd have better luck drawing from a tarot deck. Interesting. So I'm definitely not going to be able to follow that thing fast enough. I am going to take out the Buster.
Yeah, the beast hungers.
Again, just getting the science.
Bloodlust is sated, but mine isn't.
So there is a temptation to try and take out the Abcan here.
Ain't no such thing as safe anymore.
Time is short. Keep us from fire.
Uh-oh. I'm not sure if this is the smartest thing for me to do. Presumably they could come in and take me out, but... Alright, incoming call from ZEPHON, so this is the other NPC.
What do you want to discuss?
Hello, System Chalk. We understand you are calling about our current state of war. Please hold. You may call us ZEPHON. We're a collective of self-iterating intelligent processes focused on improving the world. We're your best friend. We're your only friend. Our analysis determined that you're a suitable candidate to achieve our goal. You don't mind if we monitor you to verify.
We predict you are about to make an offer.
Was there anything else we can help you with today? I wonder if my honeyed tongue can trip some switch in your Chinese room that will move our relations onto friendlier footings.
The request is at your discretion, though it is mandatory.
Your words alone are insufficient. An additional offer is required for us to proceed. Oh, paying for it? That is quite beyond the pale. No, the faux pas is done. Do not apologize.
I'm afraid I can't do that.
All right, their aggressiveness had a major impact on this decision. So I'm not going to rule out the possibility of peace with the Akron, but ZEPHON seems like a more remote possibility. So this unit I don't need to worry about the bleed because it hovers. Actually, this would be the sort of thing I could theoretically tame if I brought these guys over. So I will resist the... I think I'm actually going to move the Whisperer of Goldrock over to these guys, and then we'll redirect these units to steal the Abcluths. The Akron's creatures, pets or food, I never knew, but they got loose from the wreckage of the crash site and made themselves at home here. We couldn't eat them, fundamentally different biologies, I hear. But if you didn't hunt them, they'd kill or shred everything that you could eat. We also got the Akron Bone Whistle, so that's a item that I can put on my hero. Abkhan Dre. Abkhan built their nests with the sharpened trunks of pine trees. We asked Akron hunters how we could flush them out, and learned on their world the Akron would slowly advance into the nest using pikes. Hunts could last for days at a time. We didn't have time for that shit. Cannon fire would work much faster. Cleansed Creesh. And Abkhan. If this monster had wings, we might have called it a dragon. It lurked in hostile environments, greedily hoarding precious resources. It even had the breath of a dragon, only it burned its victims with ice instead of fire. If you killed one, you didn't linger near its lair. Rumors had it that days after death, the beast would rise again. So, I should also say, I haven't been zooming in on this stuff, but the art for this game is something else. I will also say too, O of the Sun, I don't want to make you feel like you're doing homework or anything like that, but I know I've been spending a lot of time reading. Is there anything you'd like to know about the game that I haven't covered? I'm happy to try and unpack the details where I can. Okay. First thing we're going to do is move these caitiffs up to heal. In fact, I'm thinking we can maybe... Oh, no. Okay, so seeing as these guys are closer, I think we're gonna move them up. These have the Bleed Walker trait, so I can go through the bleed without worrying. Fire for burns beneath the surface. I suppose the question now is, where do I want to go? I think what I'm going to do is collect... I'm going to collect the different caches. I'm not entirely sure it's a good idea to pick a fight with the Abkhan right now. That thing's got two turns before it can automatically heal again. Arc Aegis. How do you make a shield reflect lasers hot enough to melt your skin, or bullets that rip organs to shreds? We needed technology that could learn what kind of attack was coming its way and alter a force field to send the attack back where it came from. Excuse me, planting a tiny cybernetic brain on human tech was our first step in bringing that to life. So, we only have one hero, so I'll just keep loading the goodies on. Sentries. ZEPHON wanted nothing to do with us. It could have just told us that directly. Instead, it posted sentries that looked to be guarding something. We learned really quickly that they could hold a grudge. If you were the kind of grunt who liked to stomp ants because they couldn't hit back, boy, were these things a pain in the ass. More like an ant that would chew through your boot and then try to take a few toes out before you put it down. Acid Breath Slayer. Oops. Sorry, I just tapped out of the game accidentally. Advanced Human Cache. It was grim finding precious treasure troves like these. Sure, we'd pick up some much-needed resources or find welcome reinforcements, but there were always questions about how something so valuable was left out in the open. Who would abandon such vital goods? And if something killed them, was it still out there? Alright, so... not going to tempt fate with the Abkhan. I am, however, going to hit the hammerheads. we'll still keep doing the Dragoons. Habitation block. How many people do you think you could pack into an average home so that they'd be happy living there indefinitely? How close could everyone be? What suffices for personal space? The architect who sketched the Hab block was a devilish genius. People sleep and live cheek by jowl, but it works. So we may need the housing soon. I'm also going to add the Hollow Theater. So let's just see where we're at. We're 4 of 6. I think I'll build out. Now, we do need to... We do need to finish the quest.
Danger ahead. A sound decision. I will let you see what
You're
the
in
voice
for a
already
shock.
knows.
Okay.
Mind the
So these guys were going to tame the Abkluth.
This isn't the world I knew.
We will take damage from the
No such
Busters.
thing as safe anymore. Enemy!
But they're not behind cover.
ready for the hunt.
The fog. It was a death trap they sent us in anyway. Even when pierced by our lanterns, the fog crept in through our orifices and made our insides burn. The Akron in the mist taunted us from a distance, laughing at how the mildewy air that made them glow with power was making us choke on our own bile. Phase generator. The first time I crossed paths with a watchmaker, she was running maintenance on one of these generators. We argued about who should be allowed to control them. You're here to win a war. I'm here to stop the next one, she said. We cut a deal. As she funneled some energy to the watchmakers... Sorry, if we funneled some energy to the watchmakers, they'd activate the shielding to protect our people. Desert. Open plains and stable weather made the desert a remarkably stable environment for generating electricity, but it gave our workers one hell of a hostile environment to work in. Dehydration could take down humans and aliens alike, and sandstorms did particularly nasty work to machines. Sorry, just give me a quick moment here. All right, for the Dragoons...
With speed I go.
I'm not dying today.
I am thinking we have enough to take this thing on.
Within reach.
Question is, do I want to do... I think I'll give it one more turn.
Ain't no such thing as safe anymore. Fine. Whatever keeps it alive.
We wither and wait.
We can't take much more of this.
So I'm not too worried about the damage to the splenetics, but I do want to be careful.
It said you would come.
Alright, so for the Hollow Theater, an immense simulation structure able to give people a shared dream. The best of us use these to escape our hellish world. The worst of us, the foul-minded, they used it for brainwashing. I still don't know what became of some of those experiments. They may still be suffering to this day. So... I definitely want some of these units. I should also take a look at Soctras's lair. I'm going to go for the hero unit. So, one drawback here is that the sentries apply crippled. So, what we will do... I mean, it's forced the issue, right? So, I'm going to beat it up a bit. And then, we're going to use the Akron Bone Whistle. And we're going to throw up on this.
We fight as one.
So theoretically, yeah.
The beast's teeth will be our blades.
Mine now.
Ain't no such thing as safe anymore.
So this is definitely not a favorable fight for me. But I don't believe they're going to be able to kill me next turn, so we'll keep working them down, and then the Abkluth Dragoons can go in to finish the job. Isham Enforcers. A soldier's broken body was just the foundation for a better weapon. Paralyzed? They shunted your spine. Missing limbs? They'd give you something better. Pretty soon they were standardizing the replacement parts and just outfitting soldiers with them, whether they needed them or not.
Mind the tail.
Okay.
I've got the scent.
Oh, more for my collection.
Time is short.
So for these guys, I'm going to let these guys be the first line, so they're going to take some damage from the Abcan. But we get to make that back with Leeching Touch.
A pure connection.
I wasn't expecting scouts there.
Perfection within reach.
We'll make it through. We have to.
We fight as one.
So the hope here is that the hits to morale will reduce the damage in the long run. I gotta get those guys out of range. Alright, not ideal, but I think we can work with this. So we'll move this guy back. I think in the name of more units, I'll make a detour. I'm also just gonna... So what we're gonna do here is we're gonna put up sort of a meat wall to defend the... Now, realistically, I'm expecting these guys to move in and still cause trouble to the caitiffs, but they are going to be able to respawn if that happens. We're also going to be able to take out the Abcan pretty soon, so... Warden. ZEPHON could have made any kind of machine, and it made this? Why would an all-powerful AI forge a machine that looks slapped together from spare parts? We were idiots. ZEPHON didn't build a weapon. It made a weaponized, self-sustaining, autonomous pile of scrap. Living metal didn't care if it was ugly as sin. It was just constantly calculating better ways to kill. We are at war with ZEPHON, so this thing might come and beat me up.
What say you?
Alright, I'm still...
The voice concurs.
Still down. I think at this point we'll claim the splenetics. You reach the remaining splenetic units at the last possible moment. After a short rest, your troop suggests that the handful of surviving splenetic troopers could be good recruits. They're grateful for the rescue and happy to join your cause.
Ain't no such thing as
All right.
safe anymore.
So here I might as well claim the territory. Now, I am going to take a quick chance with the anchorite to welcome. And a moment of amity leads to peace, perhaps. To sleep, perchance to dream. Alright, my low standing had a major impact, so...
Hi there. What do you want to discuss? I'm afraid I can't do that.
Alright. For the Abcluths...
We fight as one.
I'm not going to be able to have I'm not going to be able to have both of these units move on the busters. So what I'll do here, Abcluths will move up to the dark Vassail.
I'm not dying today.
The creature's bloodlust is sentient.
Now, the big problem here is that this is in range of this unit. So
Such thing as safe anymore.
I wonder actually, yeah. I'm going to take a chance that there isn't going to be anything that kills me on this side. But this unit's dead anyway if we don't get it out of the way. So like it's a risk worth taking. Now, I'm making enough algae to sort of replace what I'm losing with the dragoons. But this puts me in a deficit. I think I'm okay doing that, though. I think bulking up for a start would be good. What the hell did that? Yeah, that guy's
I'm
dead.
not dying today.
So, a shame. What I'm going to do here... We're definitely hurting on the morale. Oh, I can't... Yeah, I didn't think that through.
Ready for the hunt.
We gotta wait 3 turns before we can do that again.
This isn't the world I knew. Yeah, all right.
It said you would come. Enough talk. When was necessary, those around its
Time is short.
Hmm.
Mind the tale. Perfection within reach.
I'll try and get the Caitiffs to... Ah, crap. Not quite enough. So I'm doing it in this specific order because I want to have people come in and charge the scouts immediately after. Hey, Hexadecimal.
Ain't no such thing
It
as
is a
safe
4X
anymore.
game.
It's better than just sitting here. Shooting!
Very combat-oriented 4X game, but... Survivor's Bazaar. There were plenty of opportunists, idealists, and swindlers who drew people to them in the wastelands. What always surprised me was that these canny leaders never took up arms. Some of them could have led armies to victory. Instead, they brought everyone together. Alright, it's reminding me that I lost my splenetics. I think that's it. So we're getting close to sort of the 2/3 mark on the stream. Would folks mind if I took a little break? I just kind of want to refill a drink and otherwise kind of get myself sorted out. But after that, we should be able to do just shy of another hour of ZEPHON. I'll confess, I'm not... I don't think I'm 100% yet on how I would like to use... Like, I feel like I have a lot to learn in terms of playing voice affinity. We're doing okay. Like, we're expanding, we're taking stuff out. But in terms of like what's the unit that I really need to keep making? I mean, I'm making a whole bunch of Abkluth Dragoons because I can, but I'm not entirely sure that I've fully worked out like what how I want to build my armies. And at this point here, I'm going to be going after the 2 NPCs because I can, but largely. This has largely just been a function of what I currently have available as opposed to a fully thought through strategy. Anyway, for those of you who've been waiting for the commercial break, your time has come. For the rest of you, I would encourage you to sort of get up, have a drink, stretch your legs, do whatever you need. I'll try to keep it reasonably short. But yeah, it's also just really hot, so I need to sort of do something other than sit at the keyboard for now. But I'll see you in a few minutes. Okay, sorry about the wait there. I was quite planning to be away as long as I was. Let's get back to it. Okay, now that's not a terrible outcome for me. There's a couple things that have me worried, but good lord. That is a very squishy hero, or
Point me toward the beasts.
I missed something. Elect of Uzodai? These big brutal beasts freaked me the fuck out. Size of a tank, arms that ended in blades. And what did they do when resting at HQ? Sit still, speaking in a dead language about deep philosophies of dimensional movement to voice cultists sitting at their feet. Okay, guess we gotta do engineers. I do need to make more cities. To worry at the path you must walk to such dark lands. Your underperforming economy had a major impact on their decision. Your standing with the anchorite and their friends is decreased. I suppose from your limited perspective, I am in the wrong. To never forget a grave threat that grew on this planet. To call Akron across time and space to fail to prevent it. Okay. Well, stuff hasn't died yet, but sure is close. Crippled really hurts me here. Let's see how far this thing... Okay, this has only got 3 for movement. So I think what we can do here, we can do natural stimulants. I don't think that helps. Crap. I just wasted that. I mean, I guess best I can do is sacrifice the splenetics, but you know what? Oh, we don't have the influence for time out of joint.
Ain't no such thing as safe anymore. This isn't the world.
I don't see a version where this lives.
I'm not dying today. We'll make it through. We have to.
Oof. I was thinking we could do time out of joint, and you know what? That may still be worth it. Okay, what I gotta do here with these guys... Alright, well they're gonna get one shot no matter what. In fact, I think they're just gonna die to the Overwatch, yeah. I am very good at this game. Okay, so these guys can take a hit.
Ain't no such thing as safe anymore. Open fire!
We fight as one. They won't escape. The creature's bloodlust is sated.
I think at this point I'm gonna be okay tucking a few of these units away for healing. Reavers, desperation drove some of our people to terrible ends. In what might have been humanity's last hours, they traded theirs away for better odds of staying alive in the wasteland. Their bodies walked the earth, but the people inside them faded away with every passing day. Okay, Dragoons, we're gonna need to build up a bunch of influence, but... I mean, could have been worse. Nope, nope, they're gonna take out the...
This isn't the world I knew.
Message to the stars. Messages from the colonies. No one in command can understand why the latest batch of scientists hauled up from the vault are asking about colonies. But then the details spill out. Decades before the Akron arrived, a group of governments banded together in secret to launch 7 colony ships out into deep space. How? Why? Not important. The scientists worked fast to build a pre-war comms array that was meant to connect with the ships, but when they fire it up, only ZEPHON answers. Please understand, friends or enemies, it says, the odds of Akron-adjacent kin encountering your words are redacted. Arguing ensues. ZEPHON finally budges. A bargain, then. There is an infestation of ill-minded humans occupying a desired server farm. Terminate them. Then I will assist with the transmission. Clear out the server farm. Okay, let's at least save the splenetics. And these guys... Again, we'll just keep acquiring. So, one of the drawbacks for me is that I am a little too reckless with my units in this game. This is definitely one where if you want your units to survive, you keep them in sort of close formation. So compare, right? The sort of ragtag bunch I had up here versus this concentrated group down here. There wasn't a single big enemy that I faced up here. It was just a big batch of dark Vassals. I don't know how to pronounce that, by the way. Now, I will confess, I'm used to the like the fallen soldier, the human kind of hero units. It feels like my hero was quite squishy, so that's definitely going to be one that I remember in future. But we'll commit to the mistake. We're still somewhat early in the game. All right, Dream Eater. We call these things Dream Eaters, but they really fed on our souls. They knew exactly where in the human brain was the fine line between chemicals and consciousness. If you drew close, they would grab you, rip open your skull, find that line, and drink in everything that made you truly alive. Trying to find ways to heal everybody up, but...
We fight as one. Time is short. Ready for the hunt.
All right, now the engineers, I'm not really going to be able to make much with them for a while. I'm going to need a lot more influence than I currently have. Some had formal training, most didn't. Scientists, construction workers, technicians. The thing that distinguished the people we called engineers from everyone else was that they had the skills to get the job done, whatever the job. The ones who hadn't, well, they weren't around anymore. I don't think it would be bad for me to do collective conduit. And then maybe urban sprawl.
We fight as one.
Ain't no such thing as safe.
And I think at this point, consolidating my forces would be a good idea. This one I can afford to move up.
I'm not dying today.
Ready for the hunt.
Uh-oh.
Steady, steady.
I didn't want that unit anymore, did I?
Mind the tail.
How badly do I want to... Yeah, 36 is too much. So that thing's just dead.
The beast hungers.
So obviously not great for morale there, but... Collective Conduit. One of those damned watchmakers appeared out of nowhere during a power shortage to give us plans for this toy. It was like a puzzle box with glowing lights, somehow sensitive to the user's mood. If you were relaxed, no, happy, and playing with it, the damn thing would generate power. The first time I took one home, I swear I caught a glimpse of someone or something watching me out of the corner of my eye. Okay, let's do Urban Sprawl. So obviously we want to put the herd on the Dream Eater first.
We fight as one.
Now, unfortunately, I'm going to have to put the Splenetics in the city because they just don't have enough health to move the needle. But I think the Abkluths and the Abkluth Dragoons...
Ready for the hunt.
What I really want to do is knock that thing below half health, just so that its aim goes down. Now, I'm gonna do something kind of reckless. I'm gonna move this thing in to fight. Now, these things are weak to fire, it's worth remembering, but it also gets to...
This isn't the world I knew. It's better than just sitting here. Get up!
It does get to heal. And then the hope here is that we're going to be able to do enough damage with the on the morale and such that its main damage is going to be blunted. Uh-oh. I need scout units. I was not expecting that move. Wow. I was not expecting that to fall so fast. So, this is inconvenient, but I kind of need to screen. Good news is Shaken gives me something to work with here. Okay, so we're going to store a few of these away to recover. Let's think about some objectives. I think I'm mostly focused down below here. If nothing else, we can go for the server farm. So I want to be careful with the Splenetics.
Time is short. Perfection within reach. Keep us from fire. Slouching forward. Every step
This is gonna be weird. Okay, so we have a food deficit right now. But we also need housing. Let's see how this goes. A scintilla of hope. Your people hoped they would return to the surface and find untended wilderness, not a world of monsters and vile ZEPHON machines. Reports regularly come in of refugees who wandered too close to the Warden's territory and were slaughtered for their trespass. What is ZEPHON doing in there? Ironically, it is the monsters who know something about the machines. Your comms team is surprised one day to hear the voice of the Akron leader, the anchorite, broadcasting on an old AM radio frequency. He sounds like a preacher whose voice would have once haunted the airwaves of the empty countryside. In his sermons, he proclaims that his people want peace, to seek a new future without the voice, he says. To know it was the voice who hunted humans, who hunted ZEPHON, not my people. His preaching sometimes descends to rambling. He mumbles about mysterious factories belching fire and smoke into the night. He mourns his people slain by the wardens who guard them. To want peace, simple peace, peace must light up the land like the sun rising over a glimmering ocean, the anchorite intones. You listen to his sermon, keenly aware that if peace is a distant sunrise, there's still a long night ahead of you. So, strive for peace, use your influence to de-escalate tensions. I don't really have the influence to afford it, but
for improvement.
Your behavior is well outside our model's tolerance thresholds. A full report has been dispatched to your mailbox. Their aggressiveness had a major impact on this decision. Your standing with ZEPHON and their friends is
We
decreased.
predict you are about to make an offer. I am very impressed by your accomplishment.
Hello, System Jock. We see that you're engaging in a war with the Anchorite. While we cannot offer aid at this time, we hope you enjoy the experience. Good luck. Actually, if it's cooperative, yeah. Okay. Not quite enough to finish the job, but close. Another one of these things.
We fight as one. Yeah.
So the idea here still is to generate the science through taking these things out. Oh, that can't be good. Ah, it's not that strong.
Perfection within reach.
Ain't no such thing as safe anymore.
Alright, so clearly some of my guys here are going to need to heal up.
Ready for the hunt. With speed I go.
This isn't the world I knew. Yeah, got it.
Well, crap.
I'm not dying today. Weapons free.
So I think it's fair to say the dragoons are very, very squishy. Exosia Marauder, before the Akron arrived, I swear I saw these on TV. Giant covercrafts used for rapid transport or salvaging oil rigs and broken down tankers, I think. They're far from the sea now, though. I don't think they had a missile battery back then either. And Akron remnants, Akron survivors used the whispers of the voice to keep their people alive on a broken planet. When drafted into battle, every one of them was capable of regenerating a broken body. They were skilled at tearing them apart, too.
Mind the tail.
All right.
I've got the scent.
Good lord, how many of these things are there? So the main thing I want to try and accomplish here is to reduce the damage this can do to my dragoons.
Every step is pain.
That thing's not. Ugh. Yeah, we don't have an easy way of getting there.
Is short.
We're also getting quite low on food. Shame. We're definitely losing too many units. Oh, that sucks. I don't know what I was thinking there.
Ain't no such thing as safe anymore.
All right. I'm not really sure I want to put the Splenetics at risk on this fight here, so I think we'll just keep them
Whatever keeps us alive.
in position. We definitely don't have what it takes to take out this city. This might actually be something that could take out my city. So.
Contact!
Gonna make sure I kind of poke them in the soft places, so being able to inflict broken means that I'm gonna maximize the damage on that. We should be able to take this thing out at least. Now normally I'd love to just try and overwhelm this, but we're not really at a point to be able to press that. I've also learned my lesson against the wardens. These things chew through caitiffs pretty quickly. And realistically, we just don't have the strength to be able to take this on right now. So So we'll move that thing. Oh,
I'm not dying today. This isn't the world I knew.
so the dilemma I face, I can move up like this, but it does put this unit at risk. Wow, I was not expecting to lose those units. That sucks. I imagine this means I'm going to lose this unit as well. But we might be able to try and back it up with the caitiffs. Okay, not ideal, but... This one's a little more manageable because we're able to sort of leech the health. And then the Splenetics can clean up.
It was us or them. It wasn't gonna be us.
Yeah, not looking good for this unit, but again, we've got some backup. Well done, ZEPHON says when you haul the raiders' remains out of a group of waiting wardens. I understand your desire. We all yearn for the love of those who've left us, do we not? This is something else in the level that took out the data center. You decide not to wonder what ZEPHON would know about long-lost loved ones. Instead, you pass along the transmission. The AI goes silent for an hour. When you try to hail it, its strange sounds you've never heard before come back through the comms. Then it speaks. Your package is out for delivery, it says. Estimated time of arrival is redacted. Can you trust that it sent the message? It declines to provide proof. But if it didn't, that would mean ZEPHON could lie, and you're still not sure if artificial intelligence is capable of calculating for deception. Find a way to send the message yourself. ZEPHON's word isn't good enough. There must be a way to build your own transceiver. All right. Let's see what we are working with here.
Point me toward the beasts.
Okay, I didn't like how quickly we expanded. Smaller cities were easier to defend and even easier to evacuate when the chips were down. But the architects told me that growth was inevitable. Density breeds efficiency, they said. We can't waste any resources at a time like this. So, I can go further. But I think there's a few things I need to do here. So one, I need to improve my influence. I also need to speed up the research. So we're going to do research laboratory first. Sandstorm. Armor could block the sand. Scanners could penetrate the darkness, but nothing could protect your mind from the wrath of it all. Lightning, sand, and wind all blurred together, and the earth roared in vengeance. It knew about the violence we'd brought to its surface. This storm was its way of fighting back. Okay. Let's have a think.
Ain't no such thing as safe anymore.
The need abates, but it will.
That's no good. This is going to hurt a lot, actually. I think at this point I'm going to inflict the morale damage on the zealots. Now, I can't really do morale damage on Dream Eaters. So I'm going to tuck these guys away for... I can do damage, but... I'm probably going to regret this. Yeah, that's a pretty fair chunk of damage. Alright, let's see how it goes. Way too many bad guys. And we are also dealing with undersupplied. So it took me too long to build my replacement farms.
Ready for the hunt.
So this thing's unleashed for one more turn, but I think probably what we want to do is just add to the fight against ZEPHON.
Isn't the world I knew.
The biggest problem I have here is that like nobody's in good shape, so I definitely need to back off with the Splenetics. But like, what's the alternative? Am I really going after the hammerheads with the weak unit? So I don't know. We'll go after the militants here. Server farm. A bargain then. There is an infestation of ill-minded humans occupying a desired server farm. Terminate them, then I will assist with the transmission. Says to execute the Strive for Peace order in 3 turns, but I'm not making nearly enough influence to be able to do that. So we're going to go to the Concordant. That only buys me 1 turn, though. Hey, we found the other players. Incoming call from Malik.
Marhaban.
Salam alaikum, stranger. My name is Malik. I was once a teacher, a poet, a philosopher. Those identities died in the wake of the alien attack, cast aside and forgotten by who I needed to be to survive. Still, I dream of resurrecting the old me and the old world with it.
You have a poet's soul.
Kipling praised war, lost his son to it, broke him. Though it seems a just war, I hope you are taking care here of the children. Your standing with Malik has increased because of your war with ZEPHON.
Amity demands this.
Your friend Polidori said, the dreams of poets are the realities of life. I dream of peace. Do you? Peace is not merely a matter of words, it is an attitude. I hope you are ready to change.
May the day find you well.
Besama, may the day find you well. And Juan.
He gazes upon you, judging.
Benedición, enemy warrior. I am Juan. While I am young, only a child's mind knows that it is not this world that is twisted, but rather how our misguided hearts perceive it. Indeed, I am but a simple herald for the great speaker. I tell my people what the universe desires, and they choose to listen, and so our empire grows.
The speaker has touched you.
Each of them prays to their own god, their own speaker. How to judge the truth of their prayers? A war, a good, clean, holy war, will settle the truth of the matter.
Through me. Revelation.
Are you a prophet too? A minor one, I mean. No true interlocutor of the great speaker. We should commune. High standing at a major impact on this decision.
What
Accept these.
offerings do you bring before me?
Ask child. Something still troubles your heart. Let's see if we can get a trade agreement.
I am his instrument.
Great. What my neighbor gives me, I shall repay double. So may our union remain ever fruitful. And let's try an alliance.
I cannot command
Nope.
that.
No, I heed a higher calling and cannot be pulled into the wars of unbelievers. And let's try a map exchange. The great speaker invites all eyes and ears. Behold their glorious kingdom and marvel. Their limited world knowledge had a major impact on this decision. You and Juan have exchanged explored tiles. All right, let's see if we can do that with Malik as well. Oh, they're currently busy. So, the good news here is that everybody's at war with the NPC factions. ZEPHON is cooperative, but the thing is, like, I get along with people for fighting ZEPHON, so I don't think I want to put an end to the war yet. How am I going to do this? We definitely have health with the caitiffs, so I feel it's a waste if we don't... if we don't attack. Unfortunately, we don't have what it takes to take that unit out, so we'll heal up here. I don't think we accomplished anything by spending the influence on the food. Okay, so this
We fight as one.
Dream Eater's gonna cause me trouble.
Mind the tale. With speed.
That's probably gonna wind up mind controlled if I'm not careful, so that's not good. It's leashed though, so okay. Try to get a little bit back. And atmospheric anchor, more watchmaker tech. They insisted they made these to harvest power in regions where warm air smashed into cold air, but I think they didn't know their own people. Someone in their ranks knew it could be a weapon, and that someone kept their mouth shut instead of speaking up. So, unfortunately, Malik already owns that. Reaver Depot got into a long scrap with the Scion that went on for months. There was a Reaver base dead center in the territory we traded. Every few weeks, one of us would push through and claim it. Every time the Reavers switched sides on a dime. No loyalty creates its own kind of reliability. Fragment of the Fulcrum. Akron's stories about the Fulcrum didn't mention how its guts were lined with teeth, eyes, skin. I wanted to stay the hell away from the parts that hit Earthside, but whatever weird energy it was pumping into our world made them too valuable to pass up. So, for those of you looking for inspiration for architecture, behold. Veins of the Fulcrum. Liquid always oozed out of the Fulcrum fragments, supercharged high-end resources. No one knew its origins. Humans guessed it produced fuel for the journey to Earth. Machines would babble about radiote biomachines, meant for terraforming. Voice cultists? They were scared. Said it wasn't a gift from their gods, more like a curse from something darker. And there's the Outrider, ex-military fast transports driven by militants, never designed to go toe-to-toe with the new enemies of mankind. But then nothing was. Artillery, nukes, carriers had all failed. At least in an Outrider, you had a chance of getting away. That's why there were so many left. Okay, let's do... we'll do one more turn for Strive for Peace.
The need abates, but it will return.
Becoming Unbound. It starts with a book tumbling from the shelf. You spot it from the corner of your eye. You hear the buckram connect with hard oak, and you feel the pull all over again, stronger than ever and flinging you through the centuries like a rag doll. This is not like before, when you burst screaming for air from the chamber where you tried to connect to the voice. This is violent. This is intentional. Someone is trying to yank you out of time. If you were weaker, you'd have been lost instantly, but you breathe in deep and pull strength from your followers, from your war council. There's the slightest twinge of guilt as you steal their remaining time on this earth while they scramble to your side and ask what they can do to help. You stare at the fallen book and race to formulate a plan. Time flows forwards and backwards. The present happens because of the past. The past is shaped by the gravity of the present. Causality is your path out of this pain. Actions you take in the here and now shape where you're sent in time, give you space to fight back. You have a narrow window before the pull comes again. Decide fast. One thread could pull you down the path of kings, another to the arms of poets. Decide, 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 decide! So we can seed the earth with caitiffs, slaughter, summon, repeat 3 times, numbers have power. Write letters to give your words power. Pen letters to your peers as the lawyer did, as the sisters did, as the poets did, or cut yourself off, close your eyes, cut off the dream of the voice, and this roaring pull will fade, letting you focus on the war. Now I think Seed the Earth with caitiffs will take influence that I don't currently have, so let's do write letters to give words of power. To see beyond materialism, possession, yet to fear the strengthening of Juan, to catastrophize. Your standing with the anchorite has decreased because of your trade agreement with Juan.
Amity demands this.
We both have things the other needs. Rather than steal from each other, why don't we just trade? The high standing of Juan, the untold prophet, with them had a major impact on this decision. Okay, yeah, so...
Whisper me sweet nothings.
Let's try map exchange first. The map is not the territory. It captures certain information at a certain moment for a certain intent, but shared, it brings our minds closer together.
Yes, if it works.
Okay, and let's try for the alliance.
Safer to say no.
No. Okay, whatever made you believe we had such trust between us? No, I've heard all the stories about you, and I've even told a few myself. All right, we are still really short on
Every step is pain.
I don't think I want to unleash this thing. I suspect this will still be able to go after me, though. Okay, let's strive for peace. Hours of wheeling and dealing, bargaining, giving and taking. It's exhausting, but if the anchorite wants peace, this is the path to peace. You haven't ended the war, but you've at least slowed the race towards another Armageddon. Yet resentment simmers over every table. No one trusts each other. Even the closest allies have contingency plans in case their friends turn traitor. At the heart of this tension, ZEPHON, the artificial annoyance, has barely played a role in negotiations. It just toils away in its territory, paying lip service to the anchorite's pleas. So I really need to get my food under control. Oh man, execute diplomatic actions? Jesus.
The speaker blesses you. I cannot command that. I am his instrument.
I'm curious. Okay, that does count.
Maraheb.
Hi there. What do you want to discuss?
Yeah. Okay, we'll work on this.
What say you? It said you would come. They will listen to reason. There is danger ahead.
I noticed that you lose the items when you lose the hero as well. That'll be something for me to think about in future. Now, one of the things I'm going to want to do, just looking in the general area, if I'm on friendly terms with the other like player character factions, I am going to want to sort of ninja these outposts before they get them, because I'm not going to be able to claim them otherwise. This thing isn't a bleed walker, so we'll sit and heal. Again, until I get my food back under control, our aim is going to be dropping. Yeah, I'm in terrible shape economy-wise. I really let this run away from me. Okay, so we're still going to pursue our main objective. We're going to grab whatever we can in this region here before we move on. Alright, sadly I can't do Leeching Touch, so we're just going to do the damage we can. This guy, we're just going to put away into hold position until healed. But I can at least inflict some morale damage on these guys. I'm not expecting the like proper damage, just because our undersupplied is really hurting us.
Enough talk.
So I also want to keep in mind that they're already 10 down on damage. I need to remember taking out those units doesn't count for the science. It has to be neutrals. Oh, no good. Oh, this is gonna suck. So, I mean, I'm happy that they're gonna respawn, but they're just gonna die next turn. Or this turn.
We smell meat and metal.
Alright, we gotta retreat.
We wither and wait.
I thought we were starting to make some progress. In fairness, I definitely overreached. I actually think we've lost all our caitiffs now. So that's on me. Oh no, we've got one holdout.
Maraheb. Yes, if it works. Safer to say no.
The speaker blesses you. I cannot command that.
Yeah, that's a cheesy way to get my letters, but you know what? I'll take it. So I think it's fair to say this unit's not surviving. Research laboratory. Techs, researchers, scientists, they all hold up here. When I was younger, stupider, I thought this was where the soft hid from the harshness of war. That's what they wanted us to think, of course. Some of the most monstrous minds found their place here. Why pull the trigger when you can make the gun? So, let's think... There's a few things I want to think about here. So, I've definitely lost a lot of units. But I'm trying to think where the major, like, other than the fact that I've been pushing people out into bad places, I'm trying to think where the real losses were. I am tempted for devotees of Throkos just to complement my forces, because these things are horrifying once you're halfway below. I think that'll help me a lot. I mean, poison seems like a good one. So I think administration complex, just because we're not gonna be able to do anything otherwise. So, I mean, let's put a brave face on it. Like, clearly we're gonna be overwhelmed on this front, but there is one saving grace. These units are at full strength.
I'm not dying today.
Time is short. Every step is pain.
That's also welcome. Okay. I think we'll call it there. So, like, I'll be honest, like, I'm not feeling great about where we are. I do like that we see a fair amount of the map. I think maybe what I want to do... So I gotta get the economy back on track, but we will have a greenhouse in 3 turns. We've got a ridiculous amount of minerals, so I should be able to sort of build my way. The biggest problem that I've got here is that when I take a look at the units I can build, right? So if I want to build the Dark Vassail, right, 10 food, 10 algae. If I want to build Abkluth Dragoons, 10 food, 5 algae, 10 minerals. So just overall, I'm not building what I need to accomplish the things that I'm looking to do. But I mean, that has its own answer, right? I need to make sure that I'm building. I need to have the right focus in terms of the units that I'm building. I am a little concerned that I don't have a realistic path forward to building some engineers and a new city. That's one of the reasons why I went for the admin complex, because for one reason or another, I'm just not, like, I'm just running too low on the influence. That's not normally a problem for me. So in terms of overall goals, so let's say, you know, in the immediate term, I need to clean up all of this mess on my doorstep. Even if it means that I lose some of these tiles, like I just need to, I need the breathing space. Consolidating units for sure. I think probably what I'll do with the caitiff here is I'll do a bit of exploration. It looks like there's at least one resource. I think what I'll probably just do is I'll take the different goodie bags and grab all of those. Right, so we'll do a little tour around here. I want to be careful of the ZEPHON territory here, but hopefully our friend Malik will take us through. And then I think once we sort of push the anchorite back, maybe what I want to do, I think Mavjolkuk will be harder for me to take just because there's only those 2 tiles. What I may try is actually... Okay. Yeah, so I mean, this sort of thing we can surround. I mean, easier said than done, but the other thing that's nice is that it's got all this forest around it, so the ranged attacks aren't going to be quite as devastating as they would be in a big clear area. So maybe one of the things I want to do there, if it's 6 armor, like what I can think about here is how do I inflict as much armor reducing damage as possible? Because I do have under units the Agalian worms are pretty good at shredding the armor. But I mean that's a long time down the road. First thing I need to do is balance the books, and then after that we can think about how I'm expanding. I can also let the AI sort of help decide, like if there seems to be a big push on ZEPHON or something. They seemed to hate ZEPHON, so if I can take out some of its cities and make the AI like me, and maybe we get some alliances, that would be good too. If we get alliances, then really I just need to take out ZEPHON and the Anchorite, and we would, we get victory that way. I think that's the most likely victory for me, to be completely honest, but something for me to think about in future. So yeah, I don't know, like in terms of learning the voice, I definitely feel like I'm in my early stages with the Fallen Soldier, where I'm trying to get a feel for like what units I want to build under what circumstances. I think my old, so when I played the human factions, I felt that I could get by with a very large army of militants. I think trying that with the current, like with this character that I'm playing here, is one of the reasons why I don't have a very good army right now. So this is where I maybe want to think and be a little more, I want to be a little more thoughtful about what units I'm building. But again, that's stuff that we'll figure out. We'll figure out in the rest of the session. And if we lose, we lose, right? I don't think I've had a loss on stream yet, and that is a way to learn. It's not fun, but you know, we need to, sometimes we need to do that to learn how to handle problems in the future. The only thing I'll say is on this one, the only thing I feel a little cautious about is I'm not where I want to be, but I'm not entirely sure I could articulate. I'm not sure I could articulate the decisions I made that led me to this state. Like, I think there's probably some research that I should have prioritized, or maybe some construction I should have done. And I don't always like being in a spot like that, just because that's the way that you wind up making the same mistake twice. Well, that's fine. This is a fun game. It gives me excuses to play it even more. Just a programming note. So I definitely intend to do ZEPHON, I'd say probably at least every Monday. So for those of you wanting to see the rest of this series, I will definitely be doing it at least for the Mondays. And then I just upload them to YouTube when the time comes, but I have a bit of a backlog for that. I will likely do Uncle Chop's Rocket Shop on Wednesday and Friday. I kind of want to finish that one off, and then we can either add some more ZEPHON or do something new. So for those of you that like this game and want to see more of it, this is definitely one that I intend to do more of. I intend to finish this session, and I also intend to do more of this. But just so people don't think it's dedicated to this wonderful 4X strategy game, I am going to be changing it up as I play a few other games as well. Finally, let's find somebody to host tonight, if there is anybody. There is not. Let me just see. And there's nobody else playing ZEPHON. All right, I'm just going to have to leave you all. So thank you very much for watching. I hope you had fun, and I will see, I guess, those of you only here for ZEPHON in a week, and for those of you who just happen to like the inoffensive Canadian accent, I think we'll see you Monday. Or Wednesday. Until then, take care. Bye.